Doctor! What are you doing standing inside a box?
We start the story miles below ground, where there are exhibits of a Slovene's arm and a Cyberman's head. I like the callback. As audiences before the series aired, we're interested to know if the Cybermen would return. And I like how the alarm goes off just as the Doctor goes to touch the exhibit's glass. We then get introduced to T-Dom from Henry Van Statten, who is very early presented as a powerful man. He's not a menacing sort of man in the sense of his general looks, but his short and snappy delivery of lines makes him unpredictable, which is why it's so nice to see him humbled a little later on. I also find the utilisation of the Dalek's eye stalk when presenting the tortures is ingenious from a directional standpoint, and whilst we of course know what's coming, having the Dalek be introduced for his very own POV is a nice diversion of expectations. We then get a nice little moment with an alien musical instrument, which is the charming moment and is what I'm a sucker for. That being said, one little thing that irks me is the alien noise gibberish played when Henry initially plays it wrong.
It reacts to the smallest fingerprint. Needs precision.
It wasn't audibly mixed well. I do like Henry's unpredictability as presented when he throws the artifacts that he just spent thousands on. This scene is also really well written, especially if you compare it to Chibnall stuff. Yes, I'm bringing him up. If it was a Chibnall script, it would be question answer. Instead, Henry makes his own deductions whilst we get cutaways and a response from Rose.
With your little cat burglar accomplice. Quite a collector yourself. She's rather pretty.
She's gonna smack you if you keep calling her she.
She's English, too.
I miss when the show was written like this and so good.
Come and see my pet.
Nice.
No, not you, Tiddles. In the next scene, we go just outside the cage where Henry says he doesn't know the creature's real name, thus origin 2, of course. The Doctor is then encouraged to put the gloves on, but responds with a quip to shut down the advances.
I won't touch it then.
Goddard then smiling was a welcome transition from the
shut it
moment earlier, and as she looks up to him, clearly impressed, it cements this early respect from her to the Doctor, which makes her being on his side rather than Henry's side later on more plausible, and it gives her some sort of grounded humanity early on. The cage being dark when the Doctor is sent in there has no purpose other than to allow the suspense to be dragged out a bit further, and to justify why the door is shut. Otherwise he would have just walked out had he went in there with the light on and the door open and he just saw the Dalek. This from Eccleston is superb.
Not ever.
I demand orders! They're never gonna come! Your race is dead! You all burn, all of you. 10 million ships on fire. The entire Dalek race wiped out in 1 second.
And after what we learned in the previous episodes, having a Dalek reduce the Doctor down to its level and mentioning his lack of companionship in the universe is a really haunting line.
I am alone in the universe.
Yep.
So are you.
This segment ends really eerie again, with Henry ordering the Dalek to be tortured again.
Make it talk again, Simmons. Whatever it takes.
I don't particularly like this scene. Flirtation after what we just seen is really jarring and is exactly what this episode doesn't need. I also find this scene really difficult to watch, especially considering Eccleston's self-described body confidence issues at the time. I'm aware it was also touch and go at the time for Watchdog and programs like that who found it a bit on the nose, and I do agree. I don't think this should be here.
My name's Rose Tyler. I've got a friend he can help. He's called
John C.
Even though the Dalek uses Rose's touch to revitalise itself and kill hundreds of personnel, it's talking about the torture wasn't the Dalek being manipulative at all to get her sympathy, as of course we learn the Dalek's true motivations at the end, making the scene even more impactful as it described the vulgar torture. The Dalek plunger suckering the fellow to death holds up well and the bone cracking sound effects are used to great effect. I also like the badass moment where Eccleston delivers this line.
Release me if you want to live.
The Dalek escapes the cage very quickly and absorbs the internet, learning everything there is to know. This sequence is mentioned later after the Dalek has completed a scan, finding out that it is alone in the universe. A scene I'm going to skip to now, as honestly not much happened except from gunfire, which might add is the biggest detriment this episode has. We spend about half the episode going from scenario to scenario where soldiers shoot at the Dalek, not aiming for its weak point, and the Dalek massacring them. Yes, it's effectively showing that it's lethal, but the truly great stuff comes from the scenes with Van Statten and the Doctor.
I wanted to touch the stars! You just want to drag the stars down and stick them underground underneath tons of sand and dirt and label them. You're about as far from the stars as you can get.
After all the shooty-wooey, we get this excellent exchange between the Doctor and the Dalek. It's just something about a shiny Dalek in the midst of a black miserable backdrop that makes it look amazing to me. and Eccleston delivering a fab line before the scene ends again with eeriness.
You would make a good Dalek.
Ooh, you're hard.
The Dalek levitating is great and very reminiscent of Remembrance of the Daleks, and the pursuit to get through the bulkhead as the power is being drained is intense, helped along by great direction with cutaways to Eccleston, as well as the excellent music, which really gives me the impression that time is running out. Ugh. Who is it?
It's me. Oh dear Lord.
I told the bastard Tiddles his time was running out.
I just wanted Karen Gillan clips.
After Rose is supposedly exterminated, after Clara's stay homage to the very first Dalek story, the Daleks, the Doctor goes on a run at Van Statten, which I mentioned earlier as a real highlight. The scene where the Dalek is struggling to comprehend why I didn't kill Rose is too a good moment and establishes for the first time since it's truly reactivated the morality and true desire of this transforming Dalek, though I'm unsure on what was the need to have a different exterminating sounds for a miss. The Doctor risking their lives to save Rose again whilst delivering the line,
I killed her once. I can't do it again.
it's great, and again really shows off their bond, and 6 episodes into the series I can really get behind this decision, as beforehand Rose and the Doctor always come in hand, part and parcel.
Boring. Wait, stop and zoom in.
How Adam has uncatalogued guns is a neat addition to the plot and is in line with him hacking the security cameras and audio links earlier.
Air dryer.
I believe Billy Piper is really good in this scene, and the whole sequence between the Dalek and Van Statten is superb and a great penultimate moment with the Dalek. It's one last bit of intimidation from the Dalek, and how it doesn't shoot is different from what we've seen before in this episode, which I applaud, though the scene, while it's great, is quite disappointingly short-lived.
How does it feel?
When you're alone in your cold inside. I'm bloody miserable, actually.
The whole closing 5 to 10 minutes with the Doctor wanting to destroy the Dalek to then having Rose order the destruction of the Dalek is good stuff, though I understand the criticism some give that it's lazy to have a villain kill itself, even if I don't particularly agree in this case. Eccleston and Piper wrap up what is, so far this series, their best performances. And Bruno Langley is invited on board. You see, this time it wasn't even my doing. So, is it a hit or a miss? Dalek is a story that boasts the return of the iconic Daleks from the classic run, which this episode pays homage to a couple of times, and makes them truly scary again, which was perfect as it acted as the introduction to them for a whole new generation, and the redesign is brilliant. The action scenes are a bit repetitive though, and I can't really see how they could have utilised a based under siege setting any better. 1 or 2 questionable scene additions don't detract from what is otherwise really good, gritty Doctor Who. Eccleston and Piper are excellent, and the fact that Robert Shearman was invited back during the Moffat era but declined truly robs us of more gripping Doctor Who in my opinion. Dalek, the episode is imperfect, and I do agree with the popular opinion that yes, this episode is very good, but Jubilee the audio drama is better. Dalek is an unmistakably hit, and I give the episode a 9 out of 10. What do you guys think of my thoughts on this episode, and what do you think of the episode itself? Was I being too harsh with my 9 out of 10, or do you think it deserves that score? Please let me know in the comments, and I always like hearing what your thoughts are on the video and its skits. So please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in 2 weeks time for my review of The Long Game. Oh.
Yeah, you better listen. I'm bringing heat. You'll be a fan when I start rapping. Way I'll have your fucking head spinning. I'm known as spit vicious. Release bombs and go tick tick.